Welcome to this Final Cut Pro 10 training. My name is Larry Jordan. This is a part of Chapter 3, Working with Projects. The goals for this session are to define a project and the project library, show you how to create a new project, show how to preview, modify, move, or delete a project, show how to use the project library to select and organize projects. As a note, there is only one sequence per project. A project is a database storing the edits you make to clips. Projects are where you edit clips for playback and output. Projects can contain video, audio, or stills, but not other projects. And projects are automatically saved as you edit. Projects are organized in the project library, and projects link to a single event but can contain clips from multiple events. Projects are stored in the Final Cut Projects folder. You can have an unlimited number of projects in one projects folder. However, only one Final Cut Projects folder is allowed per hard disk. Before you start to edit, you must create a project. Projects like events or databases, except projects store edit decisions. Apple says databases improve stability with support for thousands of clips. They provide faster clip access and allow larger projects without bogging down the system. This last point is important. Always use Final Cut for all media management, not the Finder. Also, never rename any files in the Final Cut Projects folder, which is stored on your hard drive. I want to make a note on project saving and clips. Final Cut Pro 10 automatically saves the project as you edit. Now you can undo saves using Edit Undo or Command Z, but you can't undo to a time prior to when you first opened the file. So let's say yesterday you opened the file, made a bunch of changes, and then quit Final Cut. Today, when you open the file, you can't undo back to yesterday's changes. You can only undo back to the point where you opened the file today. Also, all edits and effects are non-destructive to your clips. The source clips that are on your hard drive are not ever modified by edits or by effects. Now I want to show you how to create a project and link it to an event, how to preview a project, how to rename or modify a project's properties or linked event, how to copy or move a project to a different hard drive, how to delete a project, and how to use the project library to organize projects, including using folders for organization and how to switch between projects. This is what a project looks like when you open it in the timeline, but it's not where you organize your projects. That's the project library, which is right down here. When you click it, it opens up a list of all the existing projects that are stored on your system. And you can scroll through them if there are more by just rolling through this list. To create a new project, you can go up to File, New Project, or type Command N, or Control-click inside the project library and select New Project. In our particular case, let's just go up to File, New Project. Now, before we do this, you need to select what hard drive you want the project stored in. If you only have 2 hard drives, then all of your project files will be stored on that second drive. But I've got 3, so I want to store a project over here on the 3rd drive. So you select the drive that you want to store the project on, go up to File, New Project. It says, what do you want to call this? I'm going to call this Larry's New Project. And what default event is it linked to? Now, the reason we link it to a single event is we can actually drag media from the Finder directly into the timeline or up into the event browser. And if I drag media in, Final Cut needs to know where to put it. Remember, events store clips, and the project file stores edits. In this case, I'll link it to the VintSurf Education folder. Now, we can set video properties automatically based on the first clip. So when you edit the first clip in, it automatically sets the frame size, the frame rate, and interlacing versus progressive. And for people that don't know video formats, that's a really good choice. But if you want to custom set something, you can click the Custom button. And these are the different frame sizes that Final Cut works with, and you can select other. These are the different resolutions based upon that format. This happens to be 4:3 DV, and you're able to select frame rates. If I was working with HD, you could say 720p, then you've got two different resolutions, and you've got a variety of different frame rates. In my particular case, because I want to create a 4:3 clip, I'm going to say NTSC, and we'll set it to 4:3, and we'll set 2997. I, by the way, stands for interlaced. P stands for progressive. Again, if you're not familiar with video formats, leave this set automatically based upon the first video clip. You can set your time code to drop or non-drop, and this can be changed at any point in the project. And you can set the audio and render properties. Now here, I prefer setting a custom setting. The default is surround sound 48K ProRes. I prefer custom, setting my audio channels to 2, which is stereo. The audio sample rate, although there's a wide variety to choose from, I like a 48 kilohertz sample rate. It matches what the cameras shoot. Renders are whatever you want, but I like setting it to Apple ProRes 4:2, especially for standard def. It's perfectly okay. And for most low-end HD formats, ProRes 4:2 is going to be fine as well. And then click OK. So what we've just done is we've created a project. You can see its name right here, and it's all set to have us start editing. And we'll talk about editing a little later in this training. Notice this left-pointing arrow. This allows us to go back to the previous project, or go back to the project before that. This is like the go forward and go back buttons on your browser. You can cycle between projects without having to go back to the project library. Notice also that I have a preview ability here. I can select this project and skim it just by dragging my cursor across it, or click and hit the space bar and play the project without actually opening the project. We're just looking at it inside, and you can see the frames are changing about which one it's playing as it's going through. Spacebar to start, spacebar to stop. Or go down to this project, select it, and skim through it. Another thing we can do is if we don't want a project and want to delete it, we can either go up and select File, move Project to Trash, or keyboard shortcuts are Command Delete, or Control-click on the project and move the project to trash. Now, it's not actually deleting it yet. It's just in the trash. When you empty the trash, the project will be erased. To select a project and then move it into the project timeline, double-click it, and it opens up in the timeline. And again, to get back, oh, look at this button right here. When you click it, it gives you a list of all the clips that are in that project, stored in the order in which they appear inside the sequence. You want to jump to a clip, just highlight it, and it jumps you right to that clip. You can use the up arrow key to move up a clip, down arrow key to move down a clip. Hold the shift key down. You can select clips as you move across them. We can even drag this cursor and use it to change the position of the playhead by click, hold, and dragging on this and moving the slider up or down. We'll talk more about that when we talk about editing. We can also review based upon the keywords that are associated with the clip. Let's move back a section, go back to Dr. Cerf and click on tags, and we can see that we've tagged these clips in his interview. We'll be talking more about tags and metadata in Chapter 5. So this allows me to see all the video clips, all the audio clips, all the titles, or everything, or turn it off or turn it on. Let's go back to the project library and say we want to modify a project. How do we modify it? Well, there's two things that we can modify. One of the project settings and the other is the linked event. Both of these are controlled from the project properties window in the inspector. The keyboard shortcut is Command J. Notice under properties, as we scroll down, it says the referenced event that this links to is the one called Vint-Cerf in Education. If I have multiple events, I can click on the Modify Events References and change the event I'm pointing to. Most of the time, you're only going to have one event, in which case this is going to be fine. But if you made copies of that event, you might want to change where this is pointing. Also, if you're working with low-res to high-res, you could have one event, which is all your low-res clips, another event, which is all your high-res clips, and switch between them. To change the project properties, click this wrench icon down here. And this opens up the project properties. This allows us to change the name, change the default event, change the video properties, change the time code, change the audio and render properties. So you can change this even after you've started editing, should you want to. Keyboard shortcut to access that is Command-J. The keyboard shortcut to close or reveal the inspector is Command-4. Command-4 opens and closes the inspector. So we've seen how we can create a new project. We've seen how we can modify a project. We've seen how we can switch back and forth between projects, even preview projects. But what happens if you want to copy a project? Well, projects are stored by hard drive. So if I wanted to make a copy of this, just simply grab it and drag it to a different hard drive. Like here, see how I'm dragging on top of the drive name? And it says, okay, do you want to duplicate this project? If so, what drive do you want to put it on? Now you can duplicate the project data only, that's the edit list, or you can duplicate the project and all referenced events, which means the event and all media associated with that event. That makes a complete copy. This would be useful if you wanted to make a copy for a second editor to work on. You want to give them the project file and all the media, you would select the second choice. Or if you want to try to save space, you would just duplicate the project and used clips only. This means that it will create a new project, duplicate it actually, but only the media that you're using, and that would allow you to create an event specifically for that media. If you want to save space, don't include render files, and Final Cut will re-render. So that's duplicating a project. How about if we want to move a project? Say we bought a new hard drive and we want to move it to a new hard drive. Select the project, go up to the File menu, and say Move Project. Now it's going to take it from its old location and move it to its new location. I want to move it up to an attached RAID, for instance. I can move the project file only, or I can move the project and all referenced events and all media they contain. This is a perfect way to take everything from one hard drive, move it to a second and bigger hard drive if you need more storage. Oh, and if you want to know a very cool tip, remember I said that if you grab the project and drag it, it makes a copy? Well, if you grab the project, drag it, but hold the Command key down, command dragging makes a move. I love secret stuff like this. The project contains all your edit decisions and automatically saves changes as you make them. The database behind the project folder provides a faster, more robust system for editing. And be sure to use Final Cut Pro, not the Finder, for organizing your projects. And while getting organized before editing is not as important as in past versions, taking the time to think through what you want to do is always a good idea. My name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for watching this Final Cut Pro 10 training.